What's up, internet friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Lindsay, and today I'm talking about all the books I read in the month. I'm here to talk about all the books I read in the month of October. It's called a wrap-up. Here's my October wrap-up. Yes. The first book that I read in the month of October this year was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Riordan. This book is the first in the series. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. It's a very popular series. They made movies about it, yada, yada, yada. I read this book at the beginning of this month, and to my surprise, I did not care for it. To be honest, the movie adaptation ruined this story for me because I had seen that first before reading the story. So all I could picture were the terrible acting skills while I was reading this book. I don't know. I felt like it was very unbelievable that these kids were, how old were they? I can't even remember how old they are. But I think you're supposed to believe they're like 16 years old or younger because they take the bus everywhere and stuff. So anyways, they're like maybe 12 or 13 years old, and they're going on these crazy life-threatening adventures, which is, of course, it's fantasy, get over it, but they just acted a little bit too old or too mature for themselves. But then, I don't know. It's a very good story, but the movie just really killed it for me. And yeah, let's stop talking about that. The next book I read in the month of October was The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. This book was interesting. I had no idea what it was about going into it. I believe I heard Reagan from Peru's Project, like way back in 2017 or 2018, talk about this book. And I was immediately intrigued, so I had to pick it up, and I didn't read it until just now. Good job. I don't want to spoil it for anybody going into it. You just know the very beginning of the story, there's a girl, and she is in a school. And it seems like a special school for special people, except that she gets locked up into a chair and has like a mouth guard and a neck guard. So she can't move around, and her arms are like bolted down to the chair. And she's wheeled into class at gunpoint every day. So there's obviously something going on with this girl and her classmates. And you find out. I felt like the story dragged on a little bit, could have been a tiny bit shorter. But it was really exciting and I liked it. I would recommend. Oh, I forgot to say, The Lightning Thief, I gave 4 stars because I was bordering on a 3 to a 4 star, because if I had read this when I was in middle school, I would have definitely given it a 4 star. But since I'm, pushing 30, this is more of a 3-star book. Or I don't know. So I just gave it a 4 star because it was pretty good. And if I had read it in middle school, it would have been like a 4 or 5 star read. So anyways. Moving back to The Girl with All the Gifts. This was really, really fun. I enjoyed it. It was exciting. There's a lot of action and gore and fun stuff. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. All right. The next book I read was The Power by, Naomi Alderman. I just looked at it and couldn't remember. This book throws the power dynamic in current day, like it flips it. So, stereotypically, like, men go enlist into the military. Men are the lead politics. Men kind of control things. There's only been male presidents in the United States, so, we get it. This basically flips it on its head when women are women discover that they have this power to shoot electric bolts out of their hand. And they make arcs of like electricity currents between their hands, and they have the power to hurt people or make people feel a lot of pleasure because some people like the feeling. And so all of a sudden the power dynamic switches between males and females. Actually, I was blown away by this. I put it off for so long because I don't know, I kind of lost interest in it. I thought it would be a meh book because I have a lot of meh books. However, this turned out to be a 5-star read for me. I would highly, 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 highly recommend reading it. So if you haven't yet, please check it out. Very, very good. There's the price tag on this book still. There's the price tag on this book. Oh, way to rip it. Good job, Lindsay. All right, the next book I read in the month of October was The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendricks, and Sarah Pekkanen. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're meant to believe from the little bits that you read from the synopsis that it's not your typical jealous ex-wife story. Well, I gave it 3 stars, and looking back, it's a bit generous. I could see where the story was going. It wasn't very exciting. Well, that's a lie. Parts of it were exciting, and I kind of wanted to figure out what was going on just to make sure my predictions were correct. But since my predictions were correct, I wasn't that blown away with the ending of the story or the plot or anything that really happens. There is like a plot twist that happens at the very end, and it seems unnecessary, and then it just kind of threw the entire story into like unbelievable world, and I was just like, I could have done without that. But it is entertaining if you like the thrillers or suspenseful novels and you like trying to guess what happens in the end. Pick this one up. It's fun. The 6th book I read this month, I can't talk today, was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I'm sorry for the glare, that's very reflective. However, helpful hint, this is not the English version of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is my Icelandic version. I've started this new thing everywhere I go, at least a new country. I'm going to pick up a copy of the next book in the series. So I have the Sorcerer's Stone from Madrid, Spain, and I have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets from Iceland. So 2 down, a lot more to go. Anyways, so I reread this book, and it's honestly not my favorite book in the series. There are a lot of issues I have just with the stories, the plot conveniences, and things like that. I still obviously love Harry Potter, but it's not my favorite in the series. And one example I can give you is the damn car that they fly into the Whomping Willow, and then it drives away into the Forbidden Forest. And then it all of a sudden, spoiler alert, if anyone hasn't read this book, please go ahead. Anyways, when Harry and Ron follow the spiders into the Forbidden Forest, and then they get in trouble, and the car magically comes and saves them, even though the car up until this point hadn't really had thoughts for itself until it drove away from the Whomping Willow, I guess. Anyways, it was a very plot convenience, and it bugs me because I don't really care for that part. Moving on, let's stop talking about this. Harry Potter, you should read it. I can hear my husband laughing in the basement, probably because he hears me filming this. Anyways, the 7th book I read this month was Ready Player One by that famous, well, he's not famous, Ernest Cline. I guess he is famous. Is he famous? I don't know. Ernest Cline. Ready Player One. This is a very popular book. Again, they made a movie out of it, so maybe I was on a theme this month of reading books that had movies made of them. I don't know. I actually really hated this. I didn't, okay, maybe hate's a strong word, but there are so many damn pop culture references that it makes my stomach hurt. Yes, I get that's kind of the point of the story. Who knows the most about the pop culture references? However, it doesn't help that every single character in this story is a conceited asshole, and the only person who has insecure moments is the woman. So I really don't appreciate that. The only cool thing that saved this and gave it 2 stars instead of 1 star for me was the Oasis itself. It seemed really cool. Like if I could just put on a game set like that and just go into a world that was so complex and immersive, that sounds super badass. Also a little dangerous because we will get sucked into it and then reality is no longer a cool thing anymore. But I'd be totally down to sign up and go in the Oasis. My neighbor's outside. Hey, neighbor. I didn't care for this book as much as I wanted to. Really, really wanted to like it. But yeah, so put that down now. The last book that I attempted to read but DNF'd this month was, oh wait, not the last book, sorry. Second to last book was The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac. And it is a compilation of his poems. And I'm guessing poems and just lyrics and kind of things like that. I'm not guessing, that's exactly what this is. I didn't get too far into it. I got 31 poems in and I liked one of them. I'm not big on poetry. I'm trying to read more, so I didn't give this a star rating just because I am so new to poetry. I don't even know what I like, so this is probably just a book that I shouldn't even have picked up. But anyways, if you like poetry, if you like Tupac, if you like Tupac, pick it up, check it out, see for yourself. The last book I read in the month of October was a very probably boring book, and you might not like it. Well, it's not that exciting, but it has a weird title. It says How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greer and MD Faclm with Gene Stone. Okay, so this book is about all the ways these two doctors think the best way is not to, oh, my neighbor's right there, not to die from the most common diseases. Might have to hide. Ooh, super awkward. The most common diseases and cancers in America right now. For example, heart disease, liver disease, Alzheimer's, blood diseases like leukemia, breast cancer. They even talk a little bit about suicide in here. So this is about how your diet affects all of those things and all the like nutritional benefits you can get from just natural whole foods. I just love the science about it because there's a ton of like science behind it. Flaxseed is very good for women to prevent breast cancer because it helps, it helps reduce cancer-causing cells or something like that. I don't know. You have to read the book for all the facts because they literally go in one ear. I think that's awesome and interesting. I retain 2% of it and then it leaves. The caveat to this book, two things. So number one, I would give this like a 3.5 stars. And the reasons are, number one, sorry, that was my phone. Number one, they're very, very heavy-handed with the vegan diet and them really pushing the idea that all of your problems can be solved by changing to a vegan diet. And the vegan diet is the one and only diet that's the perfect way to live your life and avoid all these sicknesses. And oh, come on, aren't you like, and they kind of try to make you feel stupid for not eating a vegan diet. Like, well, how simple is that? Like, just eat more fruits and vegetables. And not every diet works for every person, and I don't full-heartedly believe everything someone says or writes down in a book. I want to do the research on my own and figure that out for myself, just like everybody else should. So point number two is they make a lot of generalizations in here. They they reference a ton of studies that have been done, and some of them are very old. Anyways, so they make a lot of generalizations in here about the studies, and they don't really go into depth on how it's accurate or not. So for an example, they're referencing a study of over 100,000 people over a 40 to 50 year span. And all they really say is the researchers took into account life differences efficiently. So meaning, how can you tell if the phone. How can you tell if the vegan eaters for 40 years, don't have some certain disease because of what they're eating? Those people could be naturally more, in tune with their bodies. They could go to the doctors more frequently. They could be, higher income rates where they can actually afford nutritional food and doctor visits. Are they more likely to exercise more? Are the meat eaters and the smokers less likely to exercise? Are they going to the doctor regularly? Are they taking a multivitamin? Can they afford these kind of things? So they just say the study efficiently took that into account, and that's all they say. They don't say how they took that into account or how they measured those differences for hundreds of thousands of people over years and years of span. So there are some flaws. It's a good reference book to go back to and say, I remember what berries, berries have antioxidants. What do antioxidants do again? So you can kind of go back and reference those, and they really go into depth on this at the cellular level, the changes in your body, and that's super interesting. So I'd highly recommend, if you're interested, just note, very heavy-handed with the vegan diet, which is fine, but make up your mind for yourself and don't take everything they say as hard, cold facts. Do the research yourself. So that's all the books I read in the month of October this year. Just to sum it up, I read 8 books total. I DNF'd 1 book, and I read 7 books from my own personal library, the books I already own, and 1 book from the library, which I forgot to talk about. Oh my gosh. The book I forgot to tell you about from the library was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. So I saw this book on audiobook, available for audiobook from my library. She's basically a professional declutterer and organizer. And so she's very spiritual about it. And she's from Japan, and it's like she's the cutest thing in the world, is the best thing. But she'll go in the house, she'll introduce herself to the house, and everything she'll make you pull out everything. So if you're decluttering clothes, she'll make you pull out all of your clothes, put them in a pile, touch every single item, and see if it sparks joy. So this whole book is basically about the process in which you can declutter your entire life. And she breaks it up into sections, not sections of your house, because she says it's not really very efficient, but in sections of the materials that you own. So clothes, books, paper, miscellaneous, and kitchen. No, not kitchen, because I can't remember. But she breaks it down into sections, and then she basically gives you the instructions on how to declutter each section of your home. And then by the end of the book, you're done. You're decluttered. Everything has a place in your house. There should be nothing out of place, and you should have a routine of putting everything back in its place. My favorite thing she said in this book was that she's a naturally lazy person. And I don't believe that for 1 second, because she has so many accomplishments. She's always put together. She doesn't seem lazy to me, but so she teaches you how to, declutter your home once and for all. There's no cleanup daily thing, no picking up something small every day. She's like, nobody has time for that. And nobody wants to do that, or at least I don't want to do that. So I've decluttered my clothes, and I'm working on everything else. My books, I'm going to do a book unhaul soon. So that will be fun, a little painful, but we'll get rid of some books that I'm no longer interested in. So anyways, Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. Check it out. I gave it, let's see, did I give it 5 stars? Yeah, 5 stars. It's super fast. I think I read it in 3 hours. It's very fast, short, and she's very sweet, so check it out. So those are all the books that I read in the month of October. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below and say hello to me. I want to say hi to my internet friends. And until the next time, thanks. Bye.